Hey guys, welcome to the show. If you'd like to support this channel, there are PayPal and Patreon links in the info box below. Before we get to the panel and the drop anchor and presentation, an announcement that the numpty clips are under new management. So it might take a few days here to get up to speed, but all the numpty clips, including 21s that I have, about 20 of them that I have in the hopper right now, are going to be on this channel. So keep an eye out, a weathered ear out for that. And the Kriznit, we'll start off with the newest numpty clip. Enjoy. Hillbilly Blue Balls, the redneck retard, aka the photosynthetic redneck, aka no marble science, exemplifying the pinnacle of ball-tard doublespeak. 6 March 2021.
Did find a citation that says a container is required to have gas pressure. You cannot find it. Does not exist. I've been asking that for 2 years now.
Oh, really? How about we just ask you?
Big Blue, how come we have gas pressure without a container? You hear that question asked. What do you think about it?
Well, gas pressure requires a container if you're talking about pressurized gas. Did find a citation that says a container is required to have gas pressure. You cannot find it.
Well, we found it. You're the citation, numpty.
Well, gas pressure requires a container if you're talking about pressurized gas. Does not exist. I've been asking that for 2 years now. Well, gas pressure requires a container if you're talking about pressurized gas.
Play it again, Sam.
Did find a citation that says a container is required to have gas pressure. You cannot find it. Well, gas pressure requires a container if you're talking about pressurized gas.
Psst. Hillbilly.
Turn out the lights. The party's over. They say that all good things must end. Call it a night. The party's over.
Oh, yeah. They'll be coming at you shortly. Move on to the panel. They're lagging behind a little bit. Let's see what they have to say. In 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 2.5, 1.5, 18. 1, 0.
I'm here.
Yeah, I was waiting. What's going on out there?
Yeah, it's good. Everything good. I'm fine. So
Sorry, the money.
Huh?
Sorry, I was.
Hold on a second. Go ahead, Betty. Finish up.
I said we are an hour early still this week, but next week will be synchronized again because in Europe, I think in my country, the clock is going forward.
Okay.
So that's why we are sort of off.
Go ahead, Adam.
No, I was struggling with the timing again, John. So pathetically, as you heard. But, yeah. Apologies for that.
Yeah. So the numpty clips are coming. I can't wait because they should have been under management to begin with, and that'll give me a lot of freedom. So shout out to Miggy, who did a great job in the beginning. Go ahead sporting those, but they got to come home to daddy. So shout out to Miggy. Thanks, man.
Been a while since I'd rumpus Betty anyway, so sorry, Betty.
Yeah. So we started out with the abominations of the earth, right? That's the new thing. Let's see if that catches on. I came up with that this morning. I said, Pretender Clown spinning space monkeys and Baltard spinning space monkeys only go so far. I tried to accurately characterize what we're dealing with here. So, abominations of the earth. How about that? Well, don't go too crazy.
Oh, left me pondering.
Yeah, that's what we're dealing with here. Abominations of the earth, where level and straight is curved. The other day I heard that stars actually do move from west to east. And what was the other numptiness I heard? There's just so much. I can't keep it all straight. Oh.
The reason I paused, John, is abominations. That's a lovely word. That it's probably not as intense as you think. I've just called it up there. So there's a feeling of hatred or a thing that causes disgust or loathing.
Would contempt fit in there? Then it's right on point. No? We could force it in there. Just get a shoehorn and some soap.
No, it's pretty much emotionally based. Revulsion, outrage, horror, disgrace, detestation.
Yeah. Lines up perfectly. No problems with that so far.
No, that's what I was saying. It's a great choice because it is a descriptive word of a flat earther's response to these topics.
Hey, shout out to Chris Chitoris. Is that how you say that? Fight the good fight. Appreciate that, sir. No space helmet required. Just hit that thumbs up button below. Thanks for your support. Appreciate that, man. I should make you my public relations supervisor.
Well, then I can sit down.
I knew that would get somebody back off of mute. Yeah. What's going on out there, Betty? For the second time.
The second time? Well, somebody's shouting out the super chats that I should be shouting out. Huh?
Yeah, I seen you on mute, so I figured I'd take over the admin duties at this point.
Well, I can't be off mute because I'm sort of feeding back some sounds and stuff.
I don't know why. It's a little bit stronger than it usually is.
I don't know either. It's squirrely.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just on my laptop, so I don't have a mic or whatever. So it might be that. It's just the shitty outfit that I have to work with.
Let's talk more shop talk. I hope Nathan's around so he can, kind of push this. That shop talk is important.
He's flirting in the chat. He's sort of busy with that.
He's flirting.
He's telling everybody how good looking he is for an Englishman. And, yeah.
No way. Let's see. Side what goes in the bank. Yeah.
It's true.
Is he flirting it? That's really cool. It's good to flirt in chat. Yeah, you did say that. You're flirting in chat. That's too funny.
Yeah, flirting in chat with guys. See, I summoned him. There he is.
Subscribe to Nathan Oakley 1980 and Nathan Oakley respectively.
Jeez.
I knew he was going to go.
You got him in here. Good job. Did he leave?
Yeah, he did. Of course he did. Too funny.
Unbelievable. Yep. So, anything new out there, folks? Anything?
In Holland, we soon will keep all the corona measures, but the evening clock that we have, so that you can't go out, is sort of prolonged. So we can now stay out till 10. How about that?
A whole 10 o'clock?
Is that good? Yeah, we have an hour extra for the evening clock.
Really?
That we have to be in. Yeah,
Huh.
but it's only starts from the 31st of March, and that's the only thing that they could do for us.
What about in England? Are they following? But Adam, are you following any type of clock?
They go forward, don't they? I think.
No, it's not the summertime and that sort of thing. It's a sort of a time clock, a sort of a we can't go outside after 9, like they have in France. In France, they have it from 8 o'clock, I think, or even.
No, we've not got that. There was talk last week after a Met police officer was found to have murdered and abducted a lady. There was outrage in the country suggesting that maybe all men should have a 6 o'clock curfew, but that was soon dealt with as the nonsense that it was. Do you know what I mean? But we've not got a COVID curfew, no.
I've seen that in the news here as well. that was the case. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I think that all men should be locked up, basically, because
Oh, here we go.
No, I'm just kidding. No, they are doing ridiculous things. I mean, it's sad. I mean, the models say that it's not allowed for any letting go of all the things that they sort of put in place, like the wearing masks, not opening up the facilities of restaurants and also those things like and also festivals and whatever. It's all based on models that never come true. So
I just wanted that pregnant pause right there because I thought it was appropriate. Models don't come true because models are pseudoscience.
you think that pause did it?
I think it did.
Wow. Maybe you should shut up more and pause more. Maybe we get through to these people.
we tried that. That was by accident, but we did try that, and it seemed to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just shut the F up. All right?
Shut the F up. Yeah.
Whatever.
You never know where it heads to.
It could lead to maybe a Cavendish or Cavendish experiment.
A Cavendish experiment?
Yeah, I think it's Cavendish and Caviston experiments.
Do we have those?
That's what they've been doing out there. It's a big one now. I don't know if you guys heard it. That's what I was trying to think of. I forgot, but that's where all the abominations of the earth are talking about. That's where they're at now with the Caviston Cavendish experiment.
Is it not someone that has a sort of a speech impediment?
No, it's Caviston and Cavendish because it's phlogiston. Right? You remember phlogiston back in the day. Everybody thought, that was the model back in the day. That was the reason for combustion. And they thought that. And that's until oxidation reduction reactions showed that they were full of crap. It's sort of the same thing with the Cavendish, quote unquote, experiment today. It's sort of the phlogiston because I don't know if they've gotten the memo. Obviously they haven't. That Cavendish and the whole Newtonian, even though it wasn't Newton, all that Newtonian universal law of gravitation was superseded and replaced 106 years ago. So it's a similar analogy because phlogiston was around for a while until it got, how would we say, vaporized? It's the same thing. So I've renamed it Caviston and Cavendish experiments.
It sounds sort of like suffering succotash.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah, it's sort of speech impediment-y.
I'll give you speech impediment.
Impediment-y.
So what do you think? What do you think about that analogy, Adam?
Actually, it's a very good one, isn't it? It's just at its time, the level of understanding was plausible. Didn't look too deep or apply too much critical thinking. But if you work within the paradigm, it was plausible. It was acceptable as an explanation if you didn't look any further. I say it is a model, and generally by definition, a model. Models aren't there to represent reality. They're just for little bits for you to try and grasp an understanding. That's their function. They're not there to replicate reality. They're for you to test a tiny portion of it, see if some of your abductive thinking is worth continuing down that line. But by their very definition, they're not reality. They're just to help you get through a little bit. Phlogiston being a good example when you're thinking so limited. It's still correct in some of its logic, but it's working with limited understanding. You're still applying logic, but as you gain further knowledge, the ridiculousness of the model that's been built to explain things is exemplified, but it requires that further knowledge, doesn't it? At the time, I'm not mitigating for. Oh, who was it? Who was it, John?
With phlogiston? It was Becker, Johann Becker.
Yeah. I'm not making apologetics for it, because at the time, you're working with these things. It requires further understanding to develop it, and then to see how daft it is. But if all you do is live in that paradigm, then you can validate it, can't you?
Yeah.
You accept the premises that it puts as truth in that model.
Well, it goes a little bit deeper. I think it goes a little bit deeper, and it's the poster child of seeing an effect. You got an effect, right? And then you conjure something, even though this time it made sense, it was a belly laugher, right? Now, most of the time, the abominations come up with ludicrous, how would we say, quote unquote, explanations, right? But this one at least had some, you could at least deal with it. It wasn't that ethereal? Yeah, well, I guess, I don't know, would you say, because it was a substance that they postulated, right? So all they did was
like ether, isn't it?
Yes.
It's like ether. You're taking effect.
Yep.
Observing them, and because you can't vary and manipulate anything you're postulating, you stick it into an imaginary media that solves all your problems. Phlogiston, ether, the same thing. You're not doing science. You're just sticking your problem in phlogiston, in ether, or in modern science's case, in dark energy, dark matter.
Gravity.
Keep my model and preserve it.
Hold on, Adam, 1 second. QE. I think you did it best when you just asked them what mass is. You asked them what mass is, let's start with gravity. If gravity is mass attracting mass, what is mass? I remember QE asking that question, what is mass? And that set in motion a whole line of problematic expectations for people that believe in this model of gravity. From that point, I haven't yet heard somebody that can describe to me even today what mass is.
Well, I wasn't addressing gravity. I was addressing how if we've got observation, okay, that we can't science, but we can see these effects and they're not explainable, then one solution is to do what phlogiston is to just create a medium that you can't validate, but you can reason an outcome within this imaginary medium to give you the observed effects. That's phlogiston. And frankly, that's the same for both ether and, as I say,
gravity,
gravitational theory. Yeah.
Everything. That's what they do. That's how we got into this mess. But you're right about the mass thing, but that's a little different topic. We're talking about conceptually. You see an effect, and then you just conjure something. Even, like I said, even though that one made a little bit of sense, even though they couldn't, isolate anything, but at least logically followed, they were in a sense right, but not any magical substance. But it follows conceptually the same thing that pseudoscientists do without testing. They just conjure it and say, yep, that's it. We're going to talk about that today, by the way. And a good plug by Adam using abductive. He said abductive reasoning. How appropriate for today. So we're gonna talk about some of these things, ironically.
Good. Well, all I can say, I mean, I don't know if you want to get into it yet, but one of the best things that I remember, I think it was you, QE, that reminded me of it, was that a lot of the Glober types will say mass attracts mass. Even just asking them what mass is gets them into a spiral, what I understand. They'll start saying, oh, it's this, it's that, it's that, it's this. I don't think they really know. That's the fun part.
No, they don't know. That's the whole point. Because there's a number of definitions out there. Each one right away, if you see 2 or more different definitions for the same term, you got some problems coming.
Yeah,
especially
it's getting weird.
Especially in a scientific context. Now, words have semantic ranges, and there are synonyms. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about 2 words with the exact same meaning. In science, no, you don't. That's prime territory for equivocation. Let me just tell you, at best, mass is only a concept. That's all it is. And when you start attributing physical qualities to those concepts, I'm going to be there with the nail spike 44-inch Louisville Slugger. Okay?
Every flat earther should be, I think. This is the nail in the coffin, their model.
Can I ask you something real quick, Kiwi? You're pretty smart on it. When they say mass attracting mass and this gravity stuff, what's up with molecular bonding? But why I don't see plastic attracting to other plastics?
True. Sorry about that. I was
no, you're
away from the mic. Yeah, we're getting down the lane where, that's not mass anyway.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. What me matter?
They don't know what mass is, Don. That's the point where we end it. That's where it's over. They don't know what it is, so they can't describe it for doing anything. And the fun part of debating these guys is asking them what they think it is and then laughing at them when they expose themselves for not even knowing what they're talking about. That's the fun part. They'll say it's a measurement of certain mathematical scale of this and that. They'll say it's an anatomical scale of 6 trillion atoms. Okay, well, good luck.
When they answer me, they say it's any amount of matter, but to have that, you got to have volume. And when you have volume, okay, any amount of matter. Really? Plastic has matter. Why I don't see plastic sticking to other plastic? Molecular bonding. So you're going to tell me gravity's now making my bottle right here stay together? Like, really? Like,
that's the joke of it all, Don. That's the joke.
Yeah, but it's not really that. That's an incorrect definition of it. So it's not matter. That's one of the biggest problems. You got 2 definitions out there for mass. Official definition. One is the amount of matter or amount of substance in something, and 2, the definition for inertia, the resistance to acceleration. So it's really over for him in that context. But I just wanted to bring out conceptually phlogiston, or a better Caviston and Flogendish, right? Just as a concept, because that's what's happening. I just like everyone to see that. You got an effect, and people conjure a phenomenon, the cause of that phenomena, That's how we got in this mess in the first place. That's why we're still in this mess, and that's why I've been trying to expose it. So we're going to take it. Go ahead.
I'm going to be honest with you, Kiwi. You just said a few words that I didn't get, and I'm sure a lot of people didn't.
I didn't think that was that complicated. Was it too complicated?
I'm learning new words today, bud. I'm going to be honest with you.
Oh, you're talking about Caviston and Flogedish.
I can't even say
John,
that.
I think you know already what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's a play on phlogiston. We already went over. If you didn't hear it, then just rewind and you'll get the message with phlogiston. So, but I'm gonna roll on with the presentation. Like I said, we're gonna drop anchor in here. In science, we're just gonna stay here for kind of a long time. You see that? Here, you see this anchor right here? Yeah, that's where we're staying. Right. I'd like to say this is one of my favorite presentations, but they're all my favorites. But with the scientific method, once you get out of experiment and hypothesis, it's really cut and dry to me. There's not too much to say about it, really. I could probably do the scientific method in less than 3 minutes, and there's no way you can get out of it. But here's some nuances that should raise a weathered eye when people hear about these things, and they could just crush them. So, like I said, I kind of like this presentation. Let's see how far we get with it. It's sort of kind of long. I went through it this morning. Take a look at it, but let's see how far we get. How about that? So, mic discipline, please. All right, for a quick review, the scientific method, right? Remember, it's the big three. Observe a phenomenon that is a natural phenomenon. We're talking about natural science. That's where you get your dependent variable from. Step 3, construct a formal hypothesis. And step 4, test an experiment. These are the indispensable steps of the scientific method. Not that the other steps aren't important, right? They're mainly admin and logistical steps. They're still important, but you can't have the scientific method. Natural science cannot be conducted with the top 3 in blue. Just can't do it. I think everyone's got that point up until now. Now, another term that gets thrown around at will. People don't know what it is. Peer review. Right? Like I said, most people don't know what it is. Like, I guess they think, I don't know, people do experiments in their garages or something and they get all their friends to come over or their colleagues, and that's what they think peer review is. It's not. It's not at all. Peer review are done by referees at institutions and at magazines, editorials, publishing houses, right? They got a whole bunch of guys in the room, probably 3 or 4 at a time. They're referees, and they don't do anything but sit there with coffee breath with a highlighter, right? And they go through and they highlight things that are questionable, whatever they deem questionable. I don't even know, because as we'll see here in a few minutes, less than 1% of all scientific quote unquote papers, whatever that means, actually employ the scientific method. There's nothing in there. So whatever the editor tells them, whether it be, I don't know whether it's the editor, right? I'm just speculating, right? Whatever scheme that they're on, you know, they'll just highlight stuff. Maybe it violates part of their worldview or philosophy. Well, they'll check that off and send the paper back with all the check marks and fix that. That's peer review. Most people don't even know what that is, for goodness sakes. I know the abominations of the earth don't know what it is. So like I said, peer review is the antithesis of actual science. Oh, yeah. Show the peer review step in the scientific method. Let's go up here. Let's see. Where's the peer review step in here? Construct, analyze data. The closest you get is number 7, right? The admin step, report results. But that's not peer review. right? As soon as you
John,
go ahead.
For me to show my ignorance on this, I think we've corrected me before. I mean, I've always taken peer review as not part of it, but subsequent part where the point of peer review isn't like to sit there with a cup of coffee and nod along. And this was the point when we were kids, being taught this is why you write up your apparatus, your method, because part of the peer review process, if you're going to properly peer review it, is to first of all look at it, see if you've got any objections to its non-adherence to the method, but then you to fully review it, you go away and do the same thing. That to me was, I think, naively my understanding of the purpose of a proper peer review.
Mm-hmm.
And the purpose of a proper empirically and correctly written up study, so that it was repeatable, I think is the point. And that then adds validation. I think what we see in academia today is exactly what you say. It's a coffee break, and I'll stick my name alongside of this and nod along without ever really genuinely engaging. Yeah.
Yep. See, even a professional like Adam had a misunderstanding of what it actually is. I'm telling you what it actually is. But you would...
I'm saying I ascribe more validity to it. I actually thought there was, but before looking into it, that's what I ascribed peer review was. It was peer review, and because it's empirical, then the only way to review something is to repeat it as part of the scientific method. Not read the paper and go, oh, well, there's a spelling mistake there. And that's the reality of what peer review is.
Too many comma splices. That's exactly, I'm telling you, that's exactly what they ain't doing. The referees ain't doing their quote unquote experiment in the paper that they're probably not even one in there. That ain't happening. They might be experimenting with different creamers in the coffee and getting new highlighters.
I think the stat you give on in terms of those that are upon inquiry, that you show a 3% adherence.
Oh, no,
shows the effect of peer reviewing, doesn't it? That the level of scrutiny they're applying.
Oh, we're going to get to that here in a few minutes. But like I said, with the closest thing with peer review is step 7, report results. But that's not peer review. As soon as you report results, and I like this, who are you reporting them to? Number 1. Number 2, let's say you are reporting them to, you want to get your paper published. Let's say you are reporting to the editor and he's going to put it in front of peer review. Well, that's where it ends. As soon as you hand off the paper, right, it's over. So peer review doesn't enter into this, is what I'm trying to say. Number 2, the scientific method was created to rid the landscape of bias. That is, loudest voices, ruling class, majority, votes, consensus, opinions, etc. The subjective. By instituting a method solely focused on the objective. The empirical. What does empirical mean? It just doesn't mean observable, right? They're two different words. Empirical means observable, testable, repeatable, falsifiable. Actually, the summary of the scientific method. The spinning space monkeys, abominations of the earth, mindlessly appeal to it because it's the only way to get the fairy tales into the mix, whereby bastardizing it. See it? Catholic priests have also been banking on their internal peer review for centuries. Right? Ball-tard science, that is religion, has much in common with theirs, doesn't it? This is quite telling. I like this one. From Richard Smith, former editor of the British Medical Journal, which has a high impact factor, by the way, has claimed that peer review is, listen to this, ineffective, largely a lottery, anti-innovatory, slow, expensive, wasteful of scientific time, inefficient, easily abused, prone to bias, unable to detect fraud, and irrelevant. I like it, right? I like it. It's a nice little summary, sir. Yeah, it's a well duh. It's a well duh. Let me give you another well duh. I like this one too. This is from Goodstein D. Conduct and Misconduct in Science from Caltech. Listen to this, folks. Editors of scientific journals and program officers at the funding agencies have the most to gain from peer review, and they steadfastly refuse to believe that anything might be wrong with the system. Their jobs are made easier because they had never had to take responsibility for their decisions. They are also never called to account for their choice of referees, who in any case always have the proper credentials. Since the referees perform a professional service, almost always without pay, the primary responsibility of the editor or program officer is to protect the referee. Thus, referees are never called to account for what they write in their reviews. As a result, referees are able, with relative impunity, to delay or deny funding or publication to their rivals. When misconduct of this kind occurs, it is the referee who is guilty, but it is the editors and program officers who are responsible for propagating a corrupt system that makes misconduct almost inevitable. This is the kind of misconduct that is, I fear, rampant in all fields of science, not only biomedical science. Recently, as part of a talk to a large audience of mostly young researchers at an extremely prestigious university, I outlined this analysis of the crisis of peer review. The moderator, a famous senior scientist, was incredulous. He asked the audience how many disagreed with my heresy. No one responded. Then he asked how many agreed. Every hand in the house went up. Duh! Everyone knows this. Who has a clue, who can fog a mirror? This is quite telling. I read this some years ago, and I said, yeah, duh, right? Why do you even have to say it? Right?
It's pretty damning.
Yeah. So number 6, we'll go to Courtney A. I don't know, Courtney. I know the husband and wife team here. They're Harvard graduates. I forget which one this is. It's been a while. Comments regarding On the Nature of Science, Physics in Canada. Listen to this. The author describes the three-legged stool of scientific error correction as experimental care, reproducible experiment, and peer review. Like Occam's razor, peer review is a temporal expedient for judging scientific work at any given time. Peer review serves the temporal interests of the publishers, funding agencies, and employers. The ultimate arbiter, we've heard this before from many places. Let's see if it's the same thing. The ultimate arbiter of scientific validity is what? Repeatable experiment alone. Thank you, Courtney. Appreciate that. The only aspect that should be expertly reviewed should be whether or not the researchers followed what? Well, the scientific method. You're a scientific journal. You need to follow the scientific method. I know, profound. It should be positioned right above the abstract, and it should be this right here. Now, if you want to leave out the administrative steps, that really doesn't matter to me. It's good information. Maybe put it at the bottom, maybe an annex or something, right? I don't really care. But those 3 steps, step 1, step 3, and step 4 have to be there. Right at the top, right at the outset. If they're not listed or are incoherent, then hasta la vista, baby. We don't need to hear any fairy tale stories from Narnia. That's not why we're here. We're not in the fiction section. That's how we clean this mess up. Of course, then, here's the problem. NCBI database and Google Scholar will have 3 or 4 studies in it combined. Astronomy, astrophysics, and cosmology and theoretical physics will take their rightful place at the bottom of the sci-fi section. Paleontology, archaeology, anthropology, geology will take their rightful place beside photography and Bag of Hammers observations with the accompanying pontiff declarations. And evolution, whatever that is, yes, I'm still laughing, will take its rightful place in religious studies, myths and fairy tales, just below Humpty Dumpty. Will people lose their jobs? Yep. But hey, we still need people to pick up trash. And clowns. A study done by Wharton School, University of Pennsylvania, Professor John Scott Armstrong, 2017, is saying I don't even know why he has to say this. Oh, you could do this yourself. Just go into any of those databases and start looking through scientific studies and see if they follow the scientific method. I think he's highballing. He says fewer than 1% of papers in scientific journals follow the scientific method. Duh! I knew that years ago. At university, right? I often tell this story. I guess it's story time. I'll try to keep it short. I remember getting my schedule. Right? I was headed right into my main program, and I was looking down the list crying, right? And then I ran into, I never forget this. I can remember looking at the schedule, evaluating research I. Right? I said, oh my God. I said, listen, I got bigger fish to fry. Right? I don't need to be dealing with this. Number one, it's going to be boring. Number two, it's going to waste my time. Can't you put recess in there? I can remember saying that to myself, man. However, let me just say this. It was not only the funnest class I ever had at university. I mean, it was a load of fun. I can remember laughing out loud profusely on many of occasions. Right? But it was invaluable, not only professionally, but after I got out of my profession into this genre, right? Because they taught you how to evaluate research, right? Most people can't do it. They haven't had the education on how to do it because most of these quote unquote scientific studies are war and peace novels, right? If you don't know what you're looking for, you're never going to be able to find anything. You're going to be snoring by the end of the abstract, right? But if you know what you're looking for and you can pinpoint, I can do it just like they taught me, right? So I did back up the Brinks truck for them, right? But in this case, it was worth it because they taught me how to do this. I could do it. I could still do it. It's like the back of my hand, right? And in this class, we weren't going over the Class B movies, right? We're pulling articles from the most prestigious journals in the world. Nature, Science, Royal Society of Chemistry, A, B, all the way through the alphabet, right? And we would just take them and everyone would be looking at each other like, how in the world did this get past the peer reviewers, right? It was comedy hour. That's what I'm trying to tell you. He's lowballing. I'm telling you he's lowballing 1%. 0.2%. Sorry for going off. This really gets me going.
It's a funny one, that, QE.
Let's stop right there.
We were chatting today on the debates, weren't we, a little bit about that. And I kind of mentioned it towards the end of my degree, critical thinking. Appraisal of this stuff comes back in, and the purpose we were doing it is part of a pharmacist's job is data dissemination. So you'll get a request from specialist clinic or whatever with regards to X, Y, and Z. Will it work? And you have to pull together the data to give somebody correct information to make a clinical decision. And part of that is that critical thinking, that analysis. It's not so much directly in medicine because it's more correlative than direct application of scientific method. But we were saying today it's something that is missing out of, you get a little bit at the beginning of your formative years, you're handed the scientific method, and I think in history you alluded to it, and then it disappears until the end when you might need it for some specialist role, like what I'm alluding to with me. Do you know what I mean? Other than that, it's actually taken away, and it's not until it's highlighted, like with you guys, you know, at your uni, you sit back and you're aghast.
Yep. Yeah, it was a wake-up call. Right? Especially going into my major, it was a wake-up call. I'm sitting there, what the heck is going on out there? Right? So I don't know what to tell you, people. I really don't. Take a course in evaluating research. I would suggest that. You'd be...
Can I shout out a super chat before you go on?
Yes, go ahead. Yep.
Okay. Got one from James Richard, and he says, call these liars and deceivers out by name. Get 'em, boys, sick 'em. P.S. Pick up trash, yes. Also, the world needs plenty of bartenders. Lord knows we don't need more pretenders.
Amen, James.
That's what the Australians are for. Bread for bartenders.
Oh, damn.
What?
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 He just punked out the Australian bad, man.
Want to meet an Australian? Before COVID, if you wanted to go and meet an Australian bloke in Britain, you didn't have to travel across the plane. Yeah, just go to a bar.
Well, no, dude, hold on. I've heard James Richard, if it's the same one that goes on Brandon Toy shout outs, but James Richards is a smart guy, so that's funny that he said that. That's good.
I didn't say they weren't smart. I said they were built for bar work. There's a difference. You can be smart as well.
Adam Meakin's views aren't necessarily the views of management.
That's a disclaimer.
Yeah. Too funny, man. Yeah.
But James Richard is a good dude. He's a good guy.
I know he is.
Talk to him. Yeah, he's a great dude.
James been out here ever since I can remember. Betty, wasn't he out here in the beginning? James?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought so.
I've seen him on Hangouts in the past. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He had the Predator avatar, right?
Yeah. Very scary.
Yeah. Pretty scary, James. Heck, all right, we're ready to move on. That was pretty cut and dry. I mean, there's no arguments against anything that I've gone over. These things are well done. Go ahead, Adam.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Was it somebody other than Adam? Go ahead.
Yeah. So I had a debate yesterday with a Glober. I asked them a simple question. Can you have an experiment without the scientific method? A lot of them say yes. It's funny. So then they asked me, what's the definition to it? So I pop it up, show them, and some of them that, oh wait, yeah, you can't. I'm like, what? The double speed going on here? It's funny stuff, man.
Yeah, it is funny. Yep, too funny. All right, we ready to roll?
Yeah.
So far, so good.
Go ahead, Adam. Do you have something to say?
No, just say far away, mate. Yeah.
Oh, fire away. I didn't hear you. Sorry about that. Betty rumpused you.
Of course I did.
I thought I was a second later than you, Betty, which is why I shut up quick, to be fair.
Yeah, I was typing in the chat. I thought, so nobody's saying something, so let me open up my mic, and then we both had the same idea.
All right.
One final thing, just a bit of good news.
Go ahead, Adam.
The only reason I mention it is because of the name. We were looking for QE's title music, which we made years ago. I found it. Guess what it's called?
What?
Battle for Earth. Believe it or not.
It's called what?
Battle for Earth.
Battle for really?
Yeah, I've got it. So I know.
How ironic.
Yeah, so
Sweet. I like it. All right, mic discipline, guys. Let's roll into this. We've all heard these things before, right? I call them typical baller parrots. Right? We've all heard this. Science never proves things. My word. Science is self-correcting. Science is always changing. Well, not only are these all reification fallacies, by the way. I don't think I put it in here, did I? I don't think I stated it. They're all reification fallacies, right? Science doesn't do these things. Science is a method. It's inanimate. It can't do these things. It's a train wreck in the beginning. That's why I did that. Yeah, it's a good emoji right there. Those are all good emojis. Yep. Perfect. Why did they say that is mindlessly these belly-laughing fallacious train wrecks? Why do they do that? Well, it's easy. They need flexibility when their previous just-so stories that were being peddled as science get pummeled, right? Because it's inevitable. Phlogiston, you name it. Dark matter, evolution. Most of these are shapeshifters, right? We're going to talk about that here in a few minutes. They can just pivot and say, see, science correcting itself. Really? Science correcting itself. That means it was wrong before. How do you know what they're saying is right is correct now? Huh? Just apply like second grade logic to this, and it all comes crumbling down. Science never proves things. This is one of those brain dead numpty say that just science doesn't prove things. Yeah. Oh, I did. I recognize it. Reification fallacy. Science isn't an entity. It doesn't take action or have volition. It's a method, for goodness sakes. But even deeper, right? So they say science doesn't prove things. Well, let's check it. Let's see if they're parroting what their pseudoscience priests are even telling them, right? From courses at Lumen Learning, biology for majors, forming a hypothesis. When conducting scientific experiments, researchers develop hypotheses to guide experimental design. A hypothesis is a suggested explanation that is both testable and falsifiable. You must be able to test your hypothesis, and it must be possible to what? Prove your hypothesis true or false. Now, how can they say this and you say that? Something's not lining up. From Genome Research, 1999, Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory Press. Students are taught that proper way to do science is through the following steps. First, devise a hypothesis and then design experiments that will do what? Prove or disprove. 3 times, essentially, experimental proof at the end. I highlighted them here for you. What in the world? Something's not lining up. If we can't prove or disprove anything, and these articles, these experts in these peer-reviewed journals, what's going on? Huh? You're not parroting the correct pseudoscience, are you? Experimental proof. In fact, most published papers, the hypothesis is put forth, followed by the experimental proof. No, it's not. It should be that way, but it's not. And ending with a restatement of the veracity of the theory and potential future steps. Yes, that's the way it should be. Yes, I agree with you. I agree with that state. That's the way it should be. That's not the way it is. Right? But I digress. That's besides the point. Well, all these things are saying prove or disprove. Why are they saying that? When up here, you abominations of the earth are saying science never proved things. Huh. We got a paradox, it sounds like. Are you just making shit up? Sounds like it. Let's go to another expert. Anne-Marie Helmstein, PhD, Biomedical Sciences. We are always stopping with her. She got a PhD in organic chemistry. A hypothesis is a tentative answer to a scientific question. A testable hypothesis is a hypothesis that can be what? proved or disproved. I thought the abominations of the earth have been telling us that science doesn't prove anything. What the hell are you doing, Anne-Marie Helmstein? Somebody write to her. I already did, by the way. She had some things wrong, and I wrote to her. She never wrote me back. But I digress. You need to write to her. She needs to start changing this stuff. It goes on, requirements for a testable hypothesis. In order to be considered testable, 2 criteria must be met. It must be possible to what? Prove that the hypothesis is true, and it must be possible to what? Prove that the hypothesis is false. Unbelievable. Wow. What hubris he has. It must be possible to reproduce the results of the hypothesis. I don't know what's happening here. I really don't. Back to Kristen McClellan. Definition experiment. Once the hypothesis has been established, it is time to test it. The process of experimentation is what sets science apart from other disciplines. We've heard that statement before, right? Not from Kristen either. We heard that from Professor Wolfs at the University of Rochester Physics Department. But I digress. The process of experimentation is what sets science apart from other disciplines. It leads to discoveries every day. An experiment is designed to do what? Prove or disprove the hypothesis? If your prediction is correct, you will not be able to reject the hypothesis. I don't know. I don't know what to say here. These are all paradoxes with the abominations of the earth. Here's a killer right here, man. This is Dr. Craig Venter, Abominations of the Earth. He is the grand poobah of geneticists. Geneticist of geneticists. You know, there's some things we can do in science in terms of proving certain things. Craig, Dr. Venter must be wrong, right? It's the abominations of the earth that are correct. That's what it is. Let's start listening to the abominations of the earth. Tell us what's what, huh? And you ask me why I friggin' go off, right? You ask me why I get pissed at you numpty dipshits. You clowns. It's amateur night under the carnival tent. Another proof isn't evidence. What? You just make shit up. This is like straight is curved. Level is curved. This is the same thing. Proof isn't evidence. Evidence is not proof. Really? Have you ever looked at the definition by chance? Evidence, an outward sign, indication, something that furnishes proof is inside the freaking definition of the word evidence. Let's see if it works the opposite way. Proof from Oxford Dictionary. The first word out of the gate. Evidence. Or argument establishing a fact or truth or statement. Collins Dictionary, to prove, test by experiment. Oh my God. Why do I even have to do this? Proof synonyms, confirmation, evidence, validation. From Professor Wolf's University of Rochester, let's see. A scientific theory represents a hypothesis or group of related hypotheses which has been confirmed, proved. It's a synonym through repeated experimental tests. From their alma mater wiki, an experiment is a procedure carried out to support, refute, or validate, prove a hypothesis, for goodness sakes. Ergo, therefore, experiments prove or disprove the hypothesis, right? Right? I'm not just saying that. I'm not just reading definitions. Here comes the cowbell, right? These are just citations, just people saying stuff. So let's get to some cowbell. Let's demonstrate it. Here we go. Scientists using the scientific method have proven. Here we are. Water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit, 100 degrees Celsius at sea level. That's 1 atmosphere pressure, or 101 kilopascals. Combustion is the result of oxidation reactions. Back to phlogiston, right? Phlogidish. Inflammation is only caused by intelligent agency. The lack of insulin with type 1 diabetes results in ketoacidosis. The lack of vitamin C intake in humans results in scurvy. Knowledge of the existence of the witch path information collapses the wave function. The rapid motion and collision of molecules with the walls of the container causes gas pressure. Magnetism is caused by the motion of electric charge. The Coriolis force is caused by two differing frames of reference, one rotating coordinate system non-inertial and one non-rotating coordinate system inertial. Number 10, gluconeogenesis results in the production of glucose from specific non-carbohydrate precursors. There you go. There's the cowbell. I could go on for years. Right?
You're damn right.
These are absolutely true. Proven, inviolable, never to be falsified. Ever, ever, ever. Clowns. Science self-correcting. Yeah, right. Reification fallacy. The poster child for this little monkey. The undisputed champion of the world. Evolution. This is the poster child for that. Punctuated equilibrium is the one they're wheeling out. Brought to you by Stephen Jay Gould and Niles Eldridge. Let's see what Dr. Niles Eldridge has to say here. Dr. Niles Eldridge, curator of invertebrate paleontology at the American Museum of Natural History. Listen up. Darwin's prediction of rampant, albeit gradual, change affecting all lineages through time is refuted. So Darwin's speculation, because he never had a scientific theory to begin with, his speculation was refuted, right? That's why now it's correcting itself, right? Because the Just So story is correcting. Niles Eldridge is greasing the skids for you here. The record is there. The record speaks for tremendous anatomical conservatism. Change in the manner Darwin expected or speculated is just not found in the fossil record. It ain't. It's not. He told you it, right? That's why they conjured punctuated equilibrium, what I like to call or phrase non-change change. Ergo, therefore, punctuated equilibrium, the hypothesis that this is only a hypothesis, by the way. It's not even that. I'd like somebody to post punctuated equilibrium hypothesis. We'll go through it, but I digress. The hypothesis that evolutionary development is marked by isolated episodes of rapid speciation, that's a convention, for goodness sakes, between long periods of little or no change. That's what I said. It's a change, no change, change. What's this called? What's punctuated equilibrium called? Oh, it has a name. It's called ad hoc hypotheses, or an ad hoc hypothesis, right? And what is that? An ad hoc hypothesis is one created to explain away facts that seem to refute one's beliefs or theory. Ad hoc hypotheses are common in paranormal research and in the work of pseudoscientists. Let me introduce you to them. Here they are. Stephen Jay Gould and Niles Eldridge. Dr. Niles Eldridge. They're the pseudoscientists. Thank you very much. They're not the only ones, are they? An ad hoc, from Alma Mater Wiki, an ad hoc hypothesis is a hypothesis added to a theory in order to save it from being falsified. Number one, evolution fairy tale, just like all the other fairy tale theories. It's not an actual scientific theory to begin with. So I don't even know how you're falsifying something that hasn't at least had a modicum of proof to begin with. How do you falsify something like that? Don't you have to have a modicum of proof first? Or evidence? I'm just spitballing here, right? But even if you did, to save it from being falsified, that's why they just make stuff up like punctuated equilibrium to save their fairy tale story. It's changed like 150,000 times since Darwin speculated on it. And that's why I call it, it's a shapeshifter. It'll shapeshift. They never define it, number one. There isn't a scientific theory of it, number two. That means they can make it anything they want. That's the game. Clowns. Science is always changing. Really? So these scientific proofs always change. Let's go through them again. Water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit, 100 degrees Celsius at sea level. 1 atmosphere of pressure, 101 kilopascals. Really? That changes? Right, let's show me. Combustion is a result of oxidation reactions. That changes. It really is phlogiston. Right? Bozos. Information is only caused by intelligent agency. That adds to a change. Show me some information you got that's not from intelligent agent. This is a joke. Your mindless appeals are jokes. No critical thought, no due diligence, just whatever I heard from another brain dead baller or Wiki or the Discovery Channel. Clowns. Pseudoscience, just so stories, like I said, always change. Be ad hoc hypotheses. Because they never were scientific validated to begin with. Goodness gracious. Let me take a break, man. I'm starting to get hot under the collar.
I love it, QE. You were on a fucking roll.
Don't say that. No swearing. Where is my... What the heck? There it is. All right, questions, comments. Give me a break, man. I'm going to lose my voice.
It's not... All I've got to add on that, John, is... No. Why would you embark on an endeavor to prove something using a method that at the end of it you're going to say doesn't prove anything? It would seem futile and nonsensical. The purpose of the scientific method, its empiricism, the rigorousness of its structure and review is to prove something. Right? And I know we've mentioned previous weeks, even if your experiment fails because of the empirical nature of the setup, even if you don't prove your abductive thing, the nature of the setup means you always prove something. It happens to be the converse that I think, as Nathan would say, that acid doesn't make water boil. You've proved that.
Yeah, but I think that the whole thing with Darwinism, when that started, was just for a different reason. It was just to take people away from God. That's my opinion. And that's what happened, right? Because people trust scientists that never have any truth when they don't use the scientific method as rigidly as they should be.
Those are pseudoscientists. Correction, pseudoscientists. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, so there you go. So all these people, when now with the models, we all follow them here with the stupid COVID stuff we got now, right? So we are getting to the same difficulties now and they ramped it up back in the day to make people slowly adjust it to pseudoscience. And people never seem to do the due diligence to really study these things and these topics so that they can maybe ascertain that this is all bunk. It's ad hoc, right? And if you have someone that you want to explain, for example, that evolution is bunk, then you get all these fallacies like, the scientists say, and this, that, and the other, and then you have to go back to the basis. But people are not patients anymore. Have no patience anymore. And I think you lost your patience too for a different reason. But yeah, it's people don't go back to the source where things come from, and I think that's nice that you just do that here, and that people can sort of come here and see why things are the way they are now, and in what sort of predicament we are now. How do we get out of this? That's my question.
I'd say it, but then shut my channel down.
Well, they are doing it in a different way, so if you get my drift. Yeah, so yeah, it's that, And now people are sort of hopeless and desperate for truth, but then they will never get it because there's a web of lies. They're stuck in it like little flies.
It really is good to hear this stuff, though. So that's why I give you a little bit of a shout out. It's It's probably too much.
A little bit.
It's an effort. It's an effort for him to even go out of his way. And I don't know all the YouTube financial whatever but there's an effort there, and that's, I don't know why you would call it what you would call it. It's in good faith, from what I understand. It's worth knowing. It's worth hearing.
Hey everybody, hey Kiwi, hey Betty. Am I coming through okay?
Hey, Bri.
A little bit hot, man.
Should I turn it down a bit?
Back away from your mic a little bit.
It's going to be difficult. It's on my head. I'll go on mute.
All right, try.
It's on my head.
Go ahead, try it now.
Hello? Am I coming in better?
Yeah, it's a little bit better.
Okay. I'll try and fix that in a moment there. Yeah, it is a bit strange that proof is not evidence and evidence is not proof. How would that work in court? You know what I mean? These people, on the higher levels of the nonsense, where you have astrophysics and things like that, they're having to retool and rechange all kinds of nonsense and throw out stuff they believed or they thought was real 2 decades ago and come up with a whole new load of rubbish because they're not going back to the start and starting at the start, which is just looking up into the sky and then saying, what can we see? What are we actually observing? What can we prove? What can't we prove? The answer is we can't prove anything. You know, we have to just be honest. And that's the only way. Otherwise, they just keep on going further and further, further down a tunnel of nonsense.
It's the hypocrisy, Bri, for me. I think who he's highlighted tonight. You know, when we all came into this and we first challenged the concept of a globe, where we're given science proves it's a ball, you idiots. It's proved it. And as we go along this, and admittedly this is probably mostly at trench level, but you know, this is what's now being thrown at us, the ridiculum, the descent that the ballers have got to go to from their positive statements. Once these things are shown, that they're prepared to attempt to undermine the validity of the scientific method, and then to try and say that daft things like proof isn't evidence, etc., etc. But this is really an example of like I said, the ridiculum that they've descended to keep their religion alive. This is the level of argument they want to get it to, because what they can't discuss is scientific evidence, because to discuss whether it proves anything, which is, like I say, indicative of the state of their argument.
Yeah. I disagree with that.
All right, we good?
Well,
I think I got my voice back.
Yeah, we're good. Go.
Oops, did I jump one? Yeah, I did. Yeah, this will be a little bit calm. Yeah, I'll be good with this. I won't lose my... So, this happened even yesterday. Somebody coming in talking about theories, right? Are you talking about a scientific theory or, you know, just your regular colloquial theory? Because there's a wide gap, an abyss between the two. Right? A theory, a colloquial one, is just a mere conjecture or guess. Everyone knows this. Well, my theory is, you know, on any subject that you can name, whether it be from the itch on your foot to your theory about, you know, meteors or whatever. Everyone says, well, my theory is, everyone knows, right, that that's just a colloquial theory, that it's just an abject speculation. Everyone knows this, right? But get a lot of people that get lazy with their lips, and they're in a scientific discussion and they bring up the colloquial theory. You're in a category error. Now, if you're outside talking to your neighbor, right, and you're shooting the breeze. There's no problem with it. I'm not going to be talking to my neighbor. He goes, well, my theory is, I'm not going to stop him, right? And say, well, that's not a scientific theory. Right, because we're not in context. We're out here, we're, just shooting the breeze, talking about, different things. I'm not going to do that. However, when you're sitting in these discussions, and we're always this is always a science or scientific genre, always, right? So when you say theory, I'm going to jump on you like a duck on a June bug. So get prepared for it. And don't try to weasel your way out, because it's just going to be more painful for you. So, we're going to pin these two. We're going to juxtapose them. Theory, like I said, is a mere conjecture or a guess. What is a scientific theory? What is that? I've asked people this all the time. They don't know what it is. All they do is parrot wiki. Oh, it's an explanation of what you do about this, do your observation. Yeah, no. No, it's not. It's very specific. From Chemistry About, scientific theory summarizes a hypothesis or a group of hypotheses that have been supported with repeated testing. From Quarks to Quasars, a scientific theory consists of one or more hypotheses that have been supported with repeated testing. Right? Lines up. Pretty much saying the same thing. Professor Wolf's at the University of Rochester Physics Labs. A scientific theory represents a hypothesis or a group of related hypotheses which has been confirmed through repeated experimental tests. Very specific, isn't it? Let's try one more. Scientific American. A scientific theory is an explanation of some aspect of the natural world that has been substantiated through repeated experiments or testing. So it's pretty cut and dry, right? There's no wiggle room here. It either is this or it's not this. I don't think I need to go too much into that. It's pretty, like I said, it's cut and dry. You can't have an actual scientific theory without it already being validated. The theory doesn't come first, and then the experiments to refute it come second. That's bass-ackwards. According to common sense and all the definitions of what a scientific theory is. It is a result of repeated experimental tests. Hello? And you can't have math or equations for a flippin' scientific theory. In the category air, it's batshit insane, it's non sequitur. Now, a lot of people's been waiting for this. This is just a short little presentation on logic and scientific method. Adam brought it up earlier when he said abductive, right? A lot of ballers fall into this trap, right? I hear this constantly. I wouldn't say constantly. What's the next thing to constantly? A lot. All right, logic and the scientific method. This is really easy. Of course, you got to know some background with logic and what it is. The abominations don't know what it is. That's for sure. They know how to crucify it, though. The scientific method is conducting using two and only two forms of logic. That's inference. Abductive and deductive. Okay? Abductive and deductive. As evidenced by. See, the abominations, if you're listening, you need to take this phrase on and make it part of yourself. After every claim you parrot or mindlessly hit from Wiki, this statement should be the next words out of your mouth, or I don't want to hear it. Caviston, as evidenced by. Flogadish, by evidence by. That's the next words that should come out of your mouth. If not, you're wrong. I'm going to stop you. Every single time. Here comes the cowbell for abductive and deductive reasoning. You ready? Abductive reasoning from explorable.com. A number of facts from a multitude of sources such as, literature reviews? Where'd they get that from? That sounds familiar, doesn't it? I digress. A number of facts from a multitude of sources such as literature reviews and general, observations are gathered together. After an assessment of this information, the most likely hypothesis, wow, looks like it's got the first 3 steps, right? Most likely hypothesis to explain the observation is adopted as the starting point of research. Abduction is seen very much as the starting point of the research process, giving a rational explanation, allowing what? Deductive reasoning to dictate the exact experimental design. There's the scientific method right there for you. So abductive reasoning is employed to establish observations, literature reviews, hypotheses, and then deductive reasoning is for experiments. Deductive reasoning is more narrow and is generally used to test or confirm hypotheses. That's experiment. Unbelievable. 1, 2, 3, 4. Where'd you see that before? 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I classified this as administrative, right? You get the picture. Right down the list. Boom. Systematic. Boom, 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 boom. Right? Makes sense? Kind of ironic how that all ferreted out for us. You see that? You see how that works? Unbelievable. Abduction. No conclusions are drawn. Observing phenomena, literature reviews, educated guesses. That's hypothesis construction. Deduction goes from the general to specific. It leads to certainty. All A or B and all C or A, therefore all C must be B. Get it? Versus induction. Specific to general, leads to probability or likelihood. We're not in that business. Most A or B, and this C is A, therefore this C is likely B. We're not in that business. I'm not in that business. Never have been. Nothing to do with science. Induction has nothing whatsoever to do with science. I'm going to ram it on home in the end here. Fair warning. From lumenlearning.com, let's check this out. This is pretty cool. The difference between abductive reasoning and inductive reasoning is a subtle one. Both use evidence to form guesses that are likely but not guaranteed to be true. Here comes the rub. However, abductive reasoning looks for what? Cause and effect relationships. Isn't that beautiful? You like it how a plan just comes together, don't you? While induction seeks to determine general rules, don't really care. Cause and effect, abduction is cause and effect reasoning, huh? I wonder where cause and effect fits in. Let's see. Becoming a successful scientist from Cambridge University Press, Lowell C. A scientific hypothesis is based on what? Cause and effect reasoning. Abductive reasoning. A scientific hypothesis does not merely state X and Y may be related, but explains why they are related. Interesting. From Drexel University, a scientific method is hypothesis-driven. One makes an educated guess to explain a cause and effect relationship. That's abductive. Based on definition. Back to Anne-Marie Helmstein, you know, the one that the ballers are going to write to have her change their definition of proof in science. A hypothesis is an educated guess based on observation. It's a prediction of cause and effect. Again, abduction. According to Sean Carroll, one of the chief pseudoscientists on the plane, right? He's certifiable to the ballers. He even tells you. California Institute of Technology physicist Sean Carroll arguing in The Edge that hypotheses aren't simply useful tools in some potentially outmoded vision of science. They are what? The whole point. Well, at least he got that right. They can talk the talk, but they can't walk the walk. You see this, ballers? You need hypotheses, right? You don't even know what they are. You definitely don't know what the reasoning behind it is. That's for sure. So abductive, causation, hypothesis construction, deductive, experimentation. That's all you need. This is science. There it is, right here. That's it. As opposed to inductive, which is correlative, probability, or likelihood. We all know that correlation doesn't equal causation. Now, does it? So guess what this is? Induction. It's pseudoscience. Right? If it's masquerading, let me caveat this. If anything using inductive reasoning is masquerading as science, then it's pseudoscience by definition. Now, if it's not masquerading as it, right, then there's no problem, right? It's just correlative, no problem. If you just come out of the gate with that, I got no issue. But if that science comes out of your mouth, woe be to you. And finally, remember I was going to put that dagger in? Here comes that dagger. From the King Cheese, philosopher of science, Karl Popper. There he is. There he is for you, ballers. You always like to talk about him, right? Karl Popper this, Karl Popper that. I heard him a number of times. Of course, you never read anything he wrote, right? Because the next thing out of your mouth is induction is science. How many times you heard that? Inductive reasoning, that's science. Inductive reasoning, that's what it is. And then in the next statement, talk about Karl Popper, right? What does Karl Popper have to say about induction? Let's take a look-see. From Karl Popper, 1963, Conjectures and Refutations, The Growth of Scientific Knowledge via Wiki, as mentioned in the section, The Problem of Induction. Popper's response to the problem of induction is simply that induction is actually never used in science. What the hell are you people on? Are you on shrooms? Have you ever read anything that Karl Popper wrote? Obviously you didn't. You're saying the exact opposite of what he says. I mean, not only one time, it's hundreds of times throughout all his literature. Just making shit up, aren't you? Right? Because you think nobody's going to check on you or something. I don't know. Right? Let's go again from Conjectures and Refutations. Karl Popper, a philosopher of science, sought to solve the problem of induction. He argued that science does not use induction, and induction is in fact a myth. You people on drugs or something? You should, I'll tell you what. If pretender clown numpty Dunning-Kruger dipshittery was a crime, you abominations of the earth would all be on death row, calling the governor. Clowns. Questions, comments?
We'll have to save this one.
Whoever that was. Oh, I'll speak then. I like abductive reasoning. That's a great explanation. I was trying to think, John, as you were doing that, and a good example. Is it possible for you to just call up your first, scientific proofs, just the first one? If you were to use inductive reasoning, correlatory, I'd say, I'm going to design an experiment because inductively I can see that every morning a cockerel crows and then the sun comes up. I'm going to shut that cockerel up some mornings. Yeah? It's correlationally based. You got the first one there, John?
What are you looking for, Adam?
You know, the list of scientific proofs, water boiling.
Oh, you want those up on the screen?
Yeah, I'm just trying to. You were talking fundamentally at the beginning in terms of even something as basic as this requires abductive reasoning. And I was trying to think. Water's a good simple example. Is that if you look at the scientific proof definition, and if you just want to read it out, John, that's sufficient. But with regards to water boiling, it has a few clarifications in it.
Sure, I'll read this one out. Number one, water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit, 100 degrees Celsius at sea level. That's 1 atmosphere of pressure. Is that all you need?
Perfect. Yeah, and that's important. And there's the abductive reasoning in that clarification, because obviously, if whoever it was that came to this first conclusion went around from town to town, setting up a fire and boiling his water and checking it, he would have noticed that actually, first of all, it wasn't the same temperature. Yeah. But then he would use abductive reasoning. Oh, air pressure is different. Maybe air pressure is something that I should introduce as a control variable into this. And that's what that final point is. It's a statement of the control variable, which is crucial. It's another thing that can vary the boiling point of water. Do you see what I mean? So it's that abductive reasoning, but it requires not licking your finger, stick it in the air and looking at, but actual other scientific demonstrations that at different geographic points, air pressure is different. And that's something that within his first readings of trying to take boiling points, that's another variance. So is there a correlation? It's not an easy thing. Abduction to me is the spark of genius. It's easy to see these things once they're pointed out, but that's the bit that makes the top scientists, isn't it? That ability to take statements and generate some abductive reasoning from all of these different facts that you can then put into the scientific method. And I mean, that's not to say we don't have lots of great ideas that turn out to be poo. Do you know what I mean, as scientists? But that's the thing. For hopefully, does that example make sense? That to me would be how you would demonstrate abductiveness as opposed to inductive. Why it's empirical. Its very nature is based on previous empirical discoveries. If you see what I mean, it's not, oh look, the cock crows and the sun comes up.
Good point. That's a good point. Who was the gentleman that, remember, he was asking Betty, was that King Arthur? Is he in here?
He is in here, but I don't think that he spoke earlier on. I think it was Sinclair that tried to say something.
Yeah, King Arthur was king. Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Hold on. One. Wait a second. Wasn't it King Arthur that was on about, and it might not have been him, correct me if I'm wrong, that wanted to talk about the logical inferences in science?
Flat Arthur, not King Arthur.
Oh, I'm sorry, Flat. Yeah.
He tried to tell you, but you shut him up already.
Yeah. Was it him? Do I have the one correct? Is that the correct one?
No, I don't think so. I had a question in the previous natural science C class, and that had something to do with the independent variable. And I still have that question, but I'm not sure if you want to have that discussion.
Yeah, we're not going into that discussion today. I thought we already solved that, by the way.
I don't think so. I mean, you kept it open-ended that day, and you said you will get back to me.
Yeah, I'm not going to get back to you today. We're on a different part. I don't want to get off.
I understand.
I don't want to get off the beaten path with this.
Yep, that's all right.
Okay. Hit me up at the end. You'll know when it is. I'll tell you.
Sure.
And then he plays the outro.
Yeah, no, but yeah, that's the plan. Betty, why are you giving up the plan?
I'm sorry.
No, but you are an hour early today, so I'm not dozing off today at least.
It's betrayal.
Betrayal. See, I got that, right?
Let me go back before I forget about this. Let me go back.
I think you wore yourself out a little bit on this one. I mean, you sound tired, man.
Yeah, well, I'm passionate about it, so before
yeah.
I don't want to forget about this, so I want to bring up Karl Popper one more time before we leave from this. Did you hear him say right here? You see this statement? The problem of induction. Does anyone know what that is? What was Karl Popper's example of the poster child of the problem of induction? Does anyone know? Want me to tell you?
I think so, because nobody's responding.
All swans are white.
Ah, that one. Yeah.
How ironic.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There's the problem of induction, folks. Go ahead.
I was about to ask, John, is that a consequence of induction that all swans would be white because you've seen a white swan, therefore swans are white?
That's induction. That's the poster child.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was silent because I was thinking, which is rare.
Well, science only reaches as far as you know, So as time passes, as you progress throughout time, you might find out, hey, wait, there's a black swan over there. I always thought there were only white swans, and now you've seen a black one, and now you know.
Just saying.
No, I think, John, I'm trying to formulate this a little bit. So you're Karl Popper, and there you are, and you send lots of people out, and all they come back with is pictures of white swans. So your inductive reasoning allows you to make that statement because it's correlational based, but you make it all the same, isn't it? And that's the point. You can make that inductive statement, but its validity is only in correlation, and all it takes, hence the weakness of the inductive reasoning, is all it takes is one black swan and it destroys.
Yep. That was his point, exactly. And he was warning actual, this is the conundrum. He was warning what he thought were actual scientists, but they weren't. It's a real conundrum here because I think he knew, right? But I don't know. It was like he was enabling them. He was trying to help them, giving them like breadcrumbs, but they just didn't get it. Right? So I just want to point it out before we leave Karl Popper here, go on to the last section that the problem of induction in his example was a shining one, that all swans were white. I thought that was highly ironic. All right, want to go to the last section here so we can finish up? Nate?
Yeah, sure. Well.
Yep, good. So here's one game the pseudoscience priests are playing. I'm going to give you a practical example. Let's go. Observe a phenomena. So we see sailors appear crippled. They got bleeding gums, tooth loss, have poor wound healing after sea journeys. Right? Plausible causes. That is independent variables. We're going to make an educated guess now. Right? Because that's what a hypothesis is. We already have the observed phenomena, what they call scurvy. You don't have to call it that. You call it whatever you want. It has these symptoms, right? So the plausible causes, I listed these. This was many years ago. I just listed them off the top of my head, right? Prolonged exposure to seawater, inhalation of aerosol seagull droppings, prolonged exposure to swabbing the deck cleaning solution, prolonged rolling and pitching of the ship. Some of these are ridiculous, by the way. I was just spitballing. Poor air quality, especially below deck, caused by smoke from candles and tobacco, mold, mildew, vapors, and tar and waste in the bilges, and hydrogen and carbonic acid gases from the ventilation systems, right? I could go on for quite some time here, right? All the potential causes of that effect up there. What about what we don't know? I mean, I spitballed these, but what about what we don't know? I'm sure people can come up with other ones, even ridiculous ones, right? But these are all potential independent variables. So what do? Right? We either do A or B. A, do we poll a bevy of current scientists, quote unquote, and roll what most think it is? Then call it science, right? Because that's what they've done. That's what they continue to do. They see an effect, conjure up whatever it may be. We talked about it earlier. And since they're scientists, right, we'll just run with that. Clowns. Or do we actually do science? This is what science was built for. Natural science. B, do we test every possible cause, right? We go up here. Every single one of these would be in a single scientific hypothesis by itself. Every single one, right? Do we go up there, test every possible cause, red independent variable, and validate the effect that is the dependent variable or the prediction? You know what science is? You think we could do that? Maybe. Today's science, which is religion, see paleontology, anthropology, archaeology, geology, evolutionary biology, whatever that is, and yes, I'm still laughing, theoretical physics, non-experimental, astrophysics, astronomy, and cosmology, right? What do? Well, they roll with the poll. A, because they're unable to validate or confirm anything by experiment. Then they say, what's the problem? Since transistors work, therefore, spinning balls, multiverses, dark matter, evolution, Big Bang, billions of years, ad nauseum, are scientific facts. What in the world are we doing? Wake up! Hello? Anybody out there? Questions, comments? This finishes the presentation.
I don't think that anybody dares, to be honest.
I'm just giggling with him.
Yeah. What are you going to do?
I said, I'm just giggling.
I heard you. I'm not saying you specifically. What are you going to do out there? Right? You want to do science? Right? Or you just want to make shit up and call it science? You're going to get busted. I'm going to tell you. You're just going to get busted. If you do it anywhere within my vicinity, it's going to be really, really bad for you. I mean, really bad. I'm going to get medieval on your dumbass for pretended clowning.
I'd like to see you try it.
I'd like to see you try
What?
Especially with Nathan and all those guys.
Oh my god. Oh god. Drag him in, didn't you?
That was classic, Huey. You didn't do that voice?
Yeah.
Evil Nathan guys over in the British boys. They was evil.
Don't call Brian British.
That's an inside joke, folks. That's not part of the presentation. Yep, so there it is. I mean, that I really enjoy this presentation. I might do this 10 times in a row. Of course, I'll age like 30 years after I do them all. But
can I have a request, John?
Yeah, go ahead.
Then the voice so fit.
You know, on the independent variables, scurvy, could we add lack of Australian barman on board?
that could be one, right?
I think it's plausible. It's worth investigating. Inductively, it feels right. There surely is a correlation.
It feels
quality
right.
Australian barman will stick a slice of orange in you, so you're getting your vitamin C. I think there's something in it.
See, now that could be see, that would be a confounding type of variable, man, that you've introduced. You better watch them do that.
they're making stuff up with a long time. Even if you go back to Newton, they make all kinds of claims and have continued to make them. Maybe a little bit less, but they're still doing it concerning Newton and what he said and what he did. Concerning gravity and other things, and they're constantly claiming things and mixing up things like gravity before 106 years ago and gravity after 106 years ago, and switching and chopping and changing, and it's a sweaty mess, and they just never stop. It's just a constant, stream of incoherent nonsense, where they'll say anything they need to say just to try and not admit that they don't know what they're talking about, or a flat earther is actually correcting them. They really, really have a difficult time with that. And they never do their research. Even with the smallest of things, they never do their research.
Yeah, proof is not evidence, Brian.
You're going to get me. You talking about Cavendish and Flogadish?
The Flogadish experiment is another good example, isn't it? Because it is ascribing effects, taking something, from reality, sticking what you do, ascribing it into this phlogistic, or in this case, Newtonian mass attracting mass realm, and then validating by it matching the observation. It's the same thing, John. I like the way you've conflated the two. It is, though, isn't it? The conflation is the same. I did do a quick look up on phlogiston, and the interesting thing that destroyed it was the discovery of oxygen. Which, it was all pretty much valid till we discovered oxygen. It held together.
I love it.
Actually, the interesting thing about that is it does show that there is a level of empiricism even when they've generated that, because what the theory suggests is that within each compound that's combustible, there's this phlogiston which makes it combustible, which I suppose technically is a description of oxygen in a very crude sense. But it just shows how wrong you can be. If you see what I mean, even though you've got things and they match, if you're going to do inductive reasoning, and that's how wrong you can be. Just the discovery of oxygen destroys it.
That's pretty funny, by the way. Yeah, something that simple. Yeah, that should speak volumes to people, surely.
What about when Albert Einstein debunked the moon landings decades before they happened? Because how do you have 1/6 gravity on the moon with special and general relativity? It's kind of an impossibility, is it not?
Oh, there's so many problems even before you get there. Yeah. Yep. All right, listen. It's
Can I shout out to Superchats?
Yes.
Okay. Got two of Sasha, Unitox Femu, and he says in the first one, if you see Black Swan, don't look him in the eyes, you get blind. So, and then you got the next one from Unitox Femu, and he says, my wife told me if I want to do science, I need to not only to observe. I asked why. She said, are you serious?
Yeah. His wife, I think his wife, Sasha, is a biochemist.
Okay, well, then she knows.
Yes, she knows. Yes, she does. I think she was laughing at something. Sasha was in a hangout, and I was going at it with some guy. I think it was, we were talking, he was a biologist. And Sasha's wife commented, goes, biologists? They're not scientists.
Is it some sort of an inside joke with these people that study biochemistry.
Yeah.
Haha.
It's interprofessional snobbery is rife. The way we look down on the pharmacology students and the chemical and pharmaceutical science students, my goodness, there was nothing lower. Imbeciles. That's encouraged, I think.
It's encouraged.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that snobbery. I'm gonna do some wordsmithing with that later on.
Wordsmithing and snobbery.
I like snobbery. It's like shrubbery. I just like it. All right, let's finish up. We're almost running up into 2 hours. We got 9 minutes. All right, so this isn't going to be... Oh, go ahead, Flat Earther. You just can't help yourself. Go ahead.
So, QA, before choosing something as our independent variable, how do we demonstrate that it exists? I mean, is there a process to it? Because just like in the example...
That what exists?
Just like that, the independent variable, our presumed cause.
It has to exist, yes.
How do we demonstrate that it exists?
How do you demonstrate the independent variable exists? By showing its existence?
I think if I could take you back, Arthur, to what I talked about, the boiling water. You may have got something that shows, but it's not. It doesn't confirm it. The empiricalness of the results don't show it. So you have to abductively look at it. Is there something else? Is there another independent variable, or is there something else that's affecting it? Have I got any evidence for that? So the bloke that's going around different places looks at the different air pressures, looks at that and says, "Oh, there's a correlation here between altitude." Actually, not been at the same altitude, therefore the air pressure wasn't the same. So maybe if I controlled that, went around different areas at the coast or in a lab, you'd set up and keep the air pressure constant and then vary that air pressure, seeing if you could reduce the flame whilst, and keep it boiling and see what the boiling point of the water was. If you reduced it, you'd look at those. Then when you go to that definitive statement that John makes, the qualifier at the end kind of demonstrates that there are other things at play, but the statement is still factually true because as we have kept that other control variable there, hence why it's stated what that is. And that's why at the beginning of the statement, it's not an experiment you can do that proves out really on its own. You need a multitude of these things that show and rule out and account for all of the other things that are at play to make that definitive statement.
Yes, I understand that, Adam, but the thing is, we were discussing the difference between time and information, and John
Okay, what did I tell you? Stop. What did I say before?
Can I please go ahead?
What did I say before? I said, hold off on that, right? We're discussing something a little bit different. Then, after that, I said, we got 9 minutes. We're going to have to close up shop, and then you bring it up. What kind of... okay, hold on a second. Hold on, 1 second. I just want him to think, okay? Now, having said all that, and you can see I'm looking at my screen at your name, what kind of a look do you think I'm giving your name right now? Just speculate.
I don't understand why.
Oh my
God.
You're getting green laser eyes.
Look, I don't mind the questions, but there's a time and a place for everything. I told you it's not appropriate this time, right?
Why? Weren't we discussing independent variable? Why is this not relevant?
Because it's going to take too long, right? And it's a well-done subject.
If you want, just let me complete my question. You may refuse to answer it if you don't want.
Here, I'll give you that. You don't run my show, sir. I told you at the end of the science presentations, then you could come back and ask your question. All right? We dealt with it last time. It was fun, but we're not doing it this time. You got me? Good. Betty, final thoughts. Down the list, if you can do that.
I'm sort of frightened to do so. Why are you so uppity up? What did you take? Adam, did you give him some medication or what?
No, it's Nathan's fault. He's been ticking the clock in chat that his thing's about to start. Because he's definitely already eaten, hence why he couldn't. I know Kiwi with food in his mouth.
I thought you popped in some uppers or something.
They're in the post. He's not got them yet.
Oh, okay. Then he got them somewhere else from a wrong pharmacist. Pharmacia. It's witchery. All right, let's go. Let's go with Arwin, if you dare, Arwin.
Quickly.
What? Hey, yeah, I'm here.
Maybe that's the best statement that you can make.
Thanks, Arwin. Brian.
Okay.
Brian.
I'm not to say, just enjoyed listening to it. Thank you.
Don't GM, if you dare.
For the things that I heard, very much appreciate listening. Didn't have much time to listen to all of it, but nice parts to the show.
All right. Elijah F. Have anything to add, to say? Maybe just listening in. Did I take you off mute? Oh, I didn't take you off mute. Okay, there you go. Yeah, he was off mute, but...
Yeah, just listening in. Love the show.
Thanks, Elijah.
All right. Alan of Cyrene.
Does yelling make things true? That's basically what I got from.
Shut the fuck up. Go back to primary school. Abomination of the earth. Next.
All right. I got Firefly. Firefly? You there? Guess not. And we got Flat Earth Solar. You have anything to say? You want to add?
No, just always great to listen in. Very succinctly put.
Appreciate it.
All right. We got Flat Earth Egypt.
Hello, everyone. I had a quick question. When we're talking about reasoning, whether it be abductive, inductive, or deductive, within the context of science, are we talking about using that reasoning throughout the whole process or at specific stages, i.e. formulating the hypothesis or coming up with the theory? What is it? Where do we apply that reasoning?
You don't use induction at all. Zero. Good.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep. Yeah. It's not. It's pure abduction for the first three steps, and then experiment is deduction. There's no probability or likelihood. You may think in your mind, okay, is this just because the independent variable is an educated guess, and you're thinking, okay, what's the probability of that? That's not induction. Right? You're just trying different independent variables. Follow?
I've got an addition to that, and it sits at the bottom, inductive. So when I'm talking about the bloke going round, and I give the analogy that he bothered to look at the correlation between the boiling point and the altitude, okay, and that then allowed him abductively to carry on, but he couldn't just use altitude. Do you understand? There is no. If off he went to say that actually the reason water boils is altitude, but part of that inductive part can be used abductively and then further on, to get you. But it sits at the bottom of the pyramid. You can't progress from an inductive. Would be my point, Q.
That's a good point.
You can, it's there, but it sits at the bottom, and it's certainly not a point of progression to head into experiment. More importantly,
exactly. It's well said, Adam.
Okay. We got you good.
Yes, hi everyone. I was a bit late today, but as always, I do enjoy your show. Quantum is great. I just wish every time I got into let's say a friendly debate with somebody on this subject, I knew how to articulate myself the way you could, because I would destroy them. Usually I do, but not as good as you can.
It's just many years, man. It's nothing anything special.
Fair enough.
Yep. What? Hold on a second. Was the Gotcha Good? You were the one. I'm searching my memory, which is getting poorer and poorer by the day. Were you the one that was asking questions about abduction, the logical reasoning and scientific method?
No, that was not me.
Listen, I'm just going to ask everyone that I ever see again, and the sunshine's going to shine on a dog's ass every now and again. I'm going to get it right eventually.
No problem.
Appreciate it, man.
Cheers.
Yep.
And then we got John.
Hey, thank you for the show. I think the question today is to be or not to be. Again, how do you know? Why do you know? What is the question? What is the answer for that? You know something. Where came your knowledge in from? You have to question everything. And if you do that, you have to start with yourself.
Sure, yeah, but we're talking about the specific thing that we're dealing with today with the presentation. Did you watch the presentation?
Yes, I listened to.
Any comment on any of the section there?
I'm saying that what you are saying is right, and with the scientific methods and everything around us that you are talking about is right. But that I will just saying, you have to ask us all the time, why? Just that.
Yep, I'll be asking you why all the time, how and why. Yep, that's what I'll be asking. First, I'm going to ask you, what question are you asking? A what is or how why question. That's how I get to it real quick. Because we like to be concise and to the point, don't we?
Exactly.
Yep. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks.
We got next one. That's pressure is force.
Yeah, I didn't follow much of that QA, but that it was dumb as usual.
That was good. And then we got Sasha, Unitux Femu.
Yellowing, making things true. Shouting, making things true. I ask it. Yellowing, making better than whisper.
Thanks, Sasha. Appreciate it. Tell your wife I said.
When you're shouting, yeah.
It's a little passion, Sasha. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I'm also passionate when his level is curved and when horizon appears, when many things.
Yeah.
You cannot whisper.
Yeah.
Go to demonstrate, Go to demonstrate and whisper like.
Yep. Anything else, Sasha? You good?
Done.
All right, I got skeptical. You're off mute. Skeptical? You there? Okay, I can now. And then we go to the next. Snowburner Rex. Are you there?
Yeah, I got here late, so not a lot of comments, but I've seen most of what you had, and it's been useful in a conversation with a friend on gravity. So thanks.
You're welcome.
And we got just Adam left on the bottom. Hey, Adam. Last words.
Last words, eh? Well, yeah, QE, cheers. First of all, I think purpose is to arm people. When we alluded to it at the beginning, when they descend to the level of having to state science doesn't prove anything, we can address that and disprove it. I think that's thanks for that. I think people, if you take that and have that bit of armory with you, that's brilliant. So we're talking about resentment, and listen to the response that we've had. I think there was 2 callers tonight there. The second one was just a straight ad hom at QE, and the other one attempted to formulate, and I think produced a appeal to format fallacy. We say, yeah. I think Sasha addressed it. Yeah, you got something to say, and it's this profound. Nothing wrong with shouting it, pal. Yeah, and if all your comeback to what's being shouted is appeal to format, then that's a very weak argument, and probably demonstrates how scared you are of the argument. The only bit of it you'll take on is the volume setting. Done.
Thanks, Adam. Betty, final admin thoughts?
No, admin. My thoughts? You're a little bit feisty today. I'm kind of scared of you. Are you okay?
Oh, poor baby.
Yeah, I'm sort of trembling in my boots here.
Well, you shouldn't be. If you got all your eggs in the hatch and everything squared away, got your shoes tied.
To a woman and you think about eggs in a basket, huh? Don't get me started, huh?
Yeah. All right, let's round it up. Appreciate it, guys. Yeah. Hope you guys out there take this lesson, pass it around. You'll be hearing it again. I will guarantee you that. Number 2, don't forget about the Numpty clips. I can promise probably within the next week or so, minus the technical glitches. Like I said, management's restructuring, and they're all coming home to daddy. So be ready for them. There's going to be a lot of them. There's over 100 of them. So if you're signed up for the channel, you're going to get a lot of notifications. So sorry about that, but it's just the way it's got to be. So remember, take no prisoners. No quarter will be asked. None shall be given. And remember, I'll be back.